Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Mel and today is the first TBR Bluff of 2023. Mind absolutely completely blown. I cannot believe that 2023 has already rolled around. It's January, it's my birthday month, and it's also Jumpstart January. So we have got a lot of work to do on this TBR. I'm a little bit concerned about how it's gonna be, how it's gonna go, how it's gonna do, and me getting a lot of books that I'm highly anticipating and need to get on this TBR on. We're gonna see how it goes. I don't have a lot of mandatory reads for the month of January. I need to read An Echo of Things to Come, which is the Lycania's Trilogy Book 2 for Backlist Book Club. I also need to read Sea of Ruin, which is the Patreon pick for my book club with Covers with Cassidy, our top tier patrons. We have an indie archive book club together, and that was the first pick of the month of January. So definitely need to get to both of those. I also need to get to How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix because it is going to be the Late Night Crew officially unofficial book club pick for the month of January. And that's just basically where we all jump on sprints, read the book together, give you kind of our initial reactions that are spoiler free, and hope that you guys will read it with us. So since we kind of got the mandatory reads and everything out of the way, I wanted to give you a quick rundown of things that may be changing a little bit for TBR Bluff in the coming year. I'm going to stick with 5 roles, and I will add a role if I cannot find a prompt on the board, and then that's going to stay the same. If I don't complete my TBR, I will add a role. The things that are changing is I am going to cover up each space after I do it, but instead of wiping it every 3 months, I'm going to wipe it once I've gotten 5 covered in a row. So that can be diagonal, that can be horizontal or vertical, but once I've gotten 5 in a row, then I'll wipe the board. Hopefully that'll encourage me to do some prompts that I wouldn't normally want to do, and that was Cassidy's idea, so thank you so much, Cassidy. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is I was having a little bit of a hard time figuring out what I was going to do if I landed on something and I couldn't find a spot for it, because then there was no corresponding prompt. So what I came up with is I asked my Patreons as well as over on my community tab on YouTube for you guys to give me some prompts to put in a jar, and then when I cannot find a space on the board, I'm just going to pick a prompt out of the jar, kind of like a community shelf, Becca's Bookopoly kind of thing, and that'll be my prompt, and I'll also have to add a role. So that way we're not like missing an entire book and I'm not having to try to scramble to figure out how I'm going to do that prompt. So when I can't find a prompt, this is going to be what I choose from. So thank you to everybody that submitted books or prompts for that, because I was drawing a blank after I'd already put so many on the board. I was having a really hard time figuring out, okay, what prompts do I use now? So thank you guys so much for submitting those prompts. And oh, really quickly, we need to talk about how I did in the month of December, which was not great. For the first prompt, I got author that I've never read, and I'm not sure that I actually completed that one. The plan was to do one of my Christmas romances, and technically I did that. I've never read from Talia Hibbert before, and I did read the Mary Inkmas novella. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but I did complete that prompt. And then for role number 2, we got non-Western setting, and for this one, I think I'm going to count Leech by Hirian Ennis. I forget exactly where this one was set, but way across the pond and super snowy. I think it was possibly France, but I should remember that, and I don't. 98% sure, and we're going to count it for that one. And then for role number 3, I got a chunky book, and I really only read one super chunky book, but it was The 13th Hour by Trudy Skies. I'm counting chunky as anything over 500 pages, even though really I read a lot of books that are in the 400 to 500, 550 page range, but that's just easier. That's a pretty standard measurement, and it was 535 pages. I ended up having a really good time with it, and it's for the SPFBO. I've actually got a vlog where I talked about that book, so I will link it up in one of these corners if you guys want to check it out. And then for the next role, we got Blurbed, and Blurbed was one of those that was kind of hard, and I went with Merry Little Meet Cute on my TBR. I'm going to keep that one even though I did DNF that book. I got pretty far in. It was around halfway, 60% or so, and it was blurbed by... I remember. It was blurbed by Tessa Bailey. So that one I am still going to count even though I didn't completely finish the book. Okay, so I think that that is everything. Let's just jump into the first role. I think I'm going to keep my 2 2s, and we're going to re-roll these 3. and a 3. So let's try this one more time. A 4 and a 5. Okay, so for roll number 1, we got 3 2s, a 4, and a 5. So we need to make something out of those 3 2s. And I see reverse page count. I think that's the only one I see that actually uses 3 2s, and we can't use 2 of the 2s because we have 3 2s. So looking like it's going to be reverse page count for our first roll. And then because we are starting over, we have to cover up that prompt. Okay, so for our first roll, we got 3 2s, a 4, and a 5, and this ended up with reverse page count. And since we actually don't have a book for me to reverse page count on right now, like the previous prompt, I'm going to use the book that I'm currently reading, which is A Touch of Light, and has 456 pages. So I need something as close as I can to 654 pages, which adds a really, really chunky book. But what I think I'm going to go with is the 7th book in the Expanse series. I'm buddy reading this and need to continue. So Persepolis Rising, good grief, is that correct? By James S.A. Corey is the 7th book, and it has 622 pages, which is pretty close. All of the other ones that I was looking at were more in the like 500 or 700 page range. I didn't have one that was landing in the 600 page range, so I guess we're going to go with that one. TBR Bluff roll number 2. 2 6s, a 3, a 1, and a 4. So we're going to keep those 2 6s. A 2 and 2 4s, and a 3. So we have a 3, 2 4s, and 2 6s. Okay, and then for roll number 2, we had a 3, 2 4s, and 2 6s. So I'm assuming it's going to have to be the 2 6s and 2 4s, which is seasonal. Okay, so for our next prompt, we are going to go with seasonal. And then for roll number 2, we got 3, 2 4s, and 2 6s, and this ended up with a seasonal read. So I need to read something cold, since I have several different choices to choose from, and I'll just let you know what I pick when I pick it. TBR Bluff roll number 3. 2 3s, a 6, a 4, and a 1. Ah, 2 2s. And let's just do this last one for kicks and giggles. Another 3. Okay, that's a pretty good roll. For roll number 3, we got 3 3s and 2 2s. So let's take a peek at, I guess, probably 2 3s and 2 2s. There's 3 3s and 2 2s. Perfect. Patreon pick. That worked great. And then for roll number 3, we got 3 3s and 2 2s, and that ended up with Patreon pick. And not 100% sure what I'm gonna give them for this one. Honestly, what I may do is give them the 3 new releases that I have coming out, and maybe my Patreon buddy read, like the book club with Covers with Cassidy, the Indie Archive. I might give them those 3 to 4 and let them pick from those, and then whichever one wins that would obviously not be an option for the second one. I know this is a lot of like bouncing around and will I won't I kind of situation in this TBR, but to be honest, December was a bit of a flop, and I have so much that I need to read in January. I've got to give myself a little wiggle room somewhere, so I feel like I need some options. But for seasonal, I'm gonna make an executive decision. For seasonal, I'm going to do The Drift by CJ Tudor. I'm just gonna make that decision because that's an arc that I need to read. That's one of my goals for Jumpstart in January, which I have been completely ignoring this entire TBR, as well as The Expanse is to continue a series, so that's also a goal for next year. So we're gonna make an executive decision. Seasonal read is going to be The Drift, and then Patreon pick, I will give them the 4 options from what I need to read. TBR Bluff roll number 4. A 4, a 6, a 4, a 6, and a 3. Okay, so let's just keep those. Another 3. One more time. And another 6. Okay, so for roll number 4, we got 2 4s and 3 6s. We've already used 2 6s and 2 4s. So let's see if we have 3 6s we can make anything out of. So the first of the 3 6s is an isolated setting. I want to say there's more than one of those on the board though. Oh, and then we also have debut author. I think because it's the first of the year, I'm going to go with debut author. And then for roll number 4, we had we had 2 4s and 3 6s. This ended up with debut author. And I don't think any of the books that I need to read are debut author, so let me go find one. Okay, so that was a lot harder than I thought. I may have to put a pause on that. I think what I'm gonna go with right now. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna go with right now is The Tethered Mage by Melissa Caruso. This was gifted to me by Emma, and Emma has been dying for me to read it. And I'm maybe doing a vlog for it for my Patreons. Don't really know yet, but I feel like this is a good one to pick. I think it's her debut. From what I could tell on Goodreads, it seemed to be her first full-length solo novel. Even if she'd done like some short stories or stuff before, this is like her first official novel, best as I'm aware. If something else comes up that I have to read in the month of January, I might switch this one out, but this is going to be my plan for now. Okay, and then our final roll, TBR Bluff, roll number 5. A 3, a 6, a 3, a 2, and a 1. Okay. Let's keep the 2 3s. A 1, and a 4. And then the last roll. Another 1. And then for roll number 5, we had 3 1s and 2 3s. So 2 3s and 2 1s is either a thriller or a wild card. There are a lot of books that I want to be able to get on my TBR for the first of the year, so I think I'm going to be nice to myself, and I think I'm going to use the wild card. Okay, and then last but not least for roll number 5, I'm not going to do any punishment since we're resetting the year in January, was 3 1s and 2 3s. That gave me wild. Thank goodness I went with wild rather than the other prompt, because I have got to read An Echo of Things to Come before like the second weekend in January, which is less than 10-15 days away. It's big, and when I said I don't have any books that are falling in the 600 range, they're 700 range, I was talking about this one. It is 716 pages, and it took me a lifetime to get through my reread of the first one. So I'm kind of worried. We're going to get it done. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a great time. But I've got to get this done. And so it needs to go on the January TBR. Thank goodness for wildcards. Editing Mel here just to say that I forgot a book. I did my Patreon draw for December and January last month, and I got Gray Bastards by, I don't remember who it's by, but it was Jenna's pick, and I didn't get to it in December, so I need to read it in January, so we're putting that one on the TBR as well. Okay, everybody, so I think that is my January TBR. I did not get everything that I really wanted to read on here. There's still a couple of things that I really need to get read. I will try to get my Patreon pick done before I post this video. If I do, then obviously I will have popped up the cover of whatever they chose either now or back a few minutes ago. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the change to the covering up prompts and not being able to find one with the cup. Thank you for submitting. You can still give me submissions on the community post that I put down below. If you want to do that, that's completely fine. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!